All right, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, we are talking tonight the price of standing up and the myth of corporate meritocracy. The myth of corporate meritocracy. All right, peace and blessings, Doc. So, when we look at and deal with the Ryan Clark firing, there was a whole lot of others that got sat down, terminated. Ryan Clark, of course, is one. Very, very good man. A nice, very good role model. Former Pittsburgh Steeler. I mean, how can you hate a great man that played for Pittsburgh? But we're going to get into why he got fired. And it's like I watched the video of him and the white guy, Rick or whatever his name, the going back and forth on the program. And I really didn't see a call big enough for him to be terminated over. But we'll look at that, and we'll look at some other things, and we'll look at his
That back and forth that he had. That was months ago,
yeah.
almost
Yeah.
a year ago. So
Mhm.
that's not what it is.
Well, that's what they're saying. That
That's not what it is.
mm, mm, okay. So as we go into it and look and see exactly how does this, what is the ripple effect? What is the ripple effect? What's going on? What is the reality of it? Watching his interview on the pivot, he talked about it. Um, we go back and have to deal with the issue of the denial of himself. He touched on that, and I'm like, wow, here we go with this thing now. We're in 2026, and we're still having to do that, to play that role, to deny who we are in order to get along in white America. Uh, but we'll get into all of that and break that down. We have to make sure that our people understand the systemic pressures, the institutional pushback, and the buck breaking that even came out on the pivot. That it was a form of buck breaking. The mechanics that's faced by black professionals, particularly high achieving black men, when they refuse to compromise their identity or stop advocating for their community within the white corporate structures. Now, when you remember, Doc, when Shannon Sharp and Skip was together, and you had this series of black killings back to back to back to back by the police, and Shannon Sharp was, talking about it, and Skip just, go ahead, say what you got to say. And he even brought up Minister Farrakhan's name, and said what he had to say. And I'm like, oh boy, he probably shouldn't have did that one.
Yeah. They getting rid of Craig Hodges.
For real, exactly.
Yeah.
But he lasted for a little bit there, and then him and Skip had the falling out.
hmm
So right off, before we jump totally in, do you believe that there's a situation in media or even in corporate America where, as a black man, your blackness is tolerated to a limit?
Most certainly. Certainly. I mean that's we're talking about it from the standpoint of entertainment and media. I would argue that it's true in each and every venue that you could imagine. Within America,
Mm.
there's a certain. I have a Uncle Clarence. God rest his soul. He was a member of the Nation of Islam, and his son Kareem. You know, he's an electrician. He works in construction and things like that, just like his father did. And we're having this conversation, and Kareem said, one of the things that my father taught me. He taught me that the one thing that doesn't belong at your workplace
Mhm.
are your politics, because it's very clear. that the idea of being pro-black, let alone being unapologetically pro-black, is viewed by a white society, and I'm going to just say white society. I'm not going to try and put a percentage on it, because the thing is that if it's more than 50%, we can generalize with them. White society understands that the well, they fear that there will be some retribution for the bill that they know is due. If not from black folk, it's due from just karma. And so you got that always. And I don't care where you're at, I don't care what it is that you do, you got that coming. Okay. That you had better tone down what it is that you're talking about, or you will not be here very long. I dealt with that the last time I did NPR, and I emphasize the last time that I did NPR, because NPR, they used to call me. I would do this show once or twice a year. That phone ain't rang from NPR ever again. When they had me on there to talk about the Holocaust.
Mm.
And my question for them was what I thought was an appropriate and simple one. And it is quite simply define Holocaust. And because words mean something, which Holocaust are we talking about when we talk about the Holocaust? Because that's how they build the show. The Holocaust. They get upset. And one of the guys that was on the panel, he says, well, what I would recommend for Dr. Jones to do is he needs to go to DC so he can visit the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. And I told him, I said, I've been there. I was a fellow there. I've been there a bunch of times. Okay. They paid me to come up there. Okay. And trust me when I say this, I saw more of what's behind the scenes than you did as simply someone who bought a ticket.
Mm.
That wasn't appreciated. It was truthful, but it wasn't appreciated. And so there's always this expectation for you to simmer down, to tone down your perspective and your vision of the truth. If you're unwilling to do that, you're not going to be, and this is the language that is always used, well, he wasn't a good fit.
Mm.
And that idea of not being a good fit means quite simply you ain't our kind of N-word.
Mm.
That's just what it is. And the idea of firing this man while the show is going on, where's the outrage from American workers in general?
Mhm.
Because if they can do that to him, if they will do that to him, they'll do that to you as well.
Mhm.
But because he's someone who is not looked at favorably by the majority numeric wise society, you can do whatever you want to do to him. It doesn't matter to us. And that's what the overall message is. Make no mistake about it. And it's one of the reasons why you will consistently and constantly see American workers on the short end of the stick, because they will not join together. He is a worker, a working class brother, okay, then made some millions of dollars, but his roots are in the working class, if not poor. And the fact that you have other poor working class people who may not be black to come out and celebrate at how he was done, yeah, don't look for anyone to be there to defend you when it happens to you as well. When you're on that shop floor and they come in, they say, okay, yeah, we're going to have a meeting, and yeah, when you go on break, that'll be your last break. So go ahead and take your stuff. Thank you for your
Mm.
service.
Mm. 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 Excellent, excellent. And Doc, this meritocracy, break that down. What What is that all about for real? For real?
The idea that the cream rises to the top.
Mm.
That if you go in and you're excellent at what it is that you do, that you'll get the job. There's nothing more foolish and foolhardy amongst black folk, white folk, anyone. Okay, we all know that's not true. Okay, but we only holler about it when it comes down to it affecting us. Not only are you talking about the idea of meritocracy, you need to be talking about the idea of nepotism as well. People hiring their family, but it is a natural thing to do. Let's be honest. The majority of people that we know got their jobs because someone on the inside either recommended them or informed them that this job was open. So many of the jobs that we see that are going to be advertised are being advertised nationally solely to meet some federal mandate. Well, this has to be advertised. But the idea that because you're the best, you will rise to the top is foolish. I mean, take a look at it, and you know how much I absolutely positively deplore the University of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Tom Brady's days at University of Michigan. Tom Brady wasn't starting or to the very end because they had a guy by the name of Drew Henson who was supposed to be a wonder boy. Drew Henson sucked. He sucked in football and in basketball. But because the Yankees had signed him and the people in University of Michigan thought, oh, this is the golden child right here, Brady sacked. Come on. Very few arenas, very few do you see the idea of meritocracy actually working. The only arena that I would argue that meritocracy does work, and it's even tinged by a bit of cronyism and nepotism, is the world of being an entrepreneur. That's the only area where a person will work their way somewhere. And even in that, when you look at like an Elon Musk, you look at a Donald Trump, hell, they were born on third base and were running home. So it's not, even in those cases, it's not as if they did it on their own. So meritocracy, just the foolish idea that people are promoted according to their merit. And it's the argument that white folk use in regards to fighting against DEI without realizing that white women were the greatest beneficiaries of DEI. Is the reason why they hollered when it was struck down.
Awesome. And so we're going to watch this first clip. And, you know, as we were saying earlier, this is the reason that they're giving because of this conversation that he had with Peter on air. And I watched it when it originally aired and didn't see an issue with it then, and I still don't see an issue with it now. But they're trying to say that this is the reason that Ryan got terminated. So we'll look at this and we'll come back and discuss it. Let's see.
Are you feeling okay? You look at AJ Brown, which is this number one wide receiver who got one target all night, and then you got CeeDee Lamb.
But that's the
when was the one target?
That's the target.
But
though.
I'm saying
when was the one target?
I'm saying you could have it both ways.
54 seconds left in the game on 2nd and 11. It was the one target. He runs the out route.
You wake up this morning saying AJ Brown had a better day than CeeDee Lamb.
But you know what you wake up saying though? AJ Brown's team is 1-0.
Of course,
right? Like that's what
I get it.
But the thing is this though, and we shouldn't do this on TV. And so I apologize if people think this is rude. That's the non-player.
Oh, stop. CeeDee Lamb is.
Let me tell you why. I'm not looking at fantasy football.
Ryan, I'm not. Don't belittle me like that. I could come in and say, as 3 ex-players are saying one thing, and give an alternative perspective that maybe CeeDee Lamb did play well. And
Peter, what I need for you to do is not get mad and let me finish for one.
Okay, go on.
It wasn't about you. It was going to be about me.
Okay.
As a player, I can't speak for CD Lamb. I'm speaking for.
So that was it right there.
Creating a new deal.
I didn't find, as I said, I didn't find nothing wrong with it then, and I still don't find anything wrong with it now. I don't know why Peter felt like he was being demeaned or anything like that, but it's true. You're not a player. You're looking from the outside. We're looking from the inside. Doc, now I know you say you don't think it was because of that. What's your thought?
It wasn't because of that. There was nothing wrong with what it was that he said. There's nothing wrong with what he said. It's you're dealing with people on a daily basis. Let's be very clear of what we're talking about. On a daily basis, who may be rubbing people the wrong way, or you have some other things that are going on that, if they were just honest about it, would make all of this go away. The harsh truth of it is that ESPN is going through a transition where they're merging with some other entities and what have you, and they're cutting staff. Now, if you're going to do that, because I would challenge anyone, name me some other people who were quote unquote laid off during this time. Who are the other names? The other on-air person that Cam Newton was released. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason this one stands out is the way that it was done. In the middle of the show, you know, they Family Matters this brother. Remember the young girl from Family Matters that went upstairs on one show and we never saw her ever again? Like she went there and died and they sealed the room off. Same thing. It's how they did it. Okay, but be sure that it was not what he just said right there. More than likely, what it could have been, and this is just me spitballing, that's how Ryan Clark that's how he is on the pivot. And I bet that's how he is in corporate meetings with the big wigs of the network. And I wouldn't put it past him, and I damn sure wouldn't put it past Sharp. I wouldn't put it past Cam to have offended some white executive with that type of behavior. And the releasing of him in this situation after that exchange, I guarantee you, if he searches his mental Rolodex, he's going to be able to say, that's exactly kind of the scenario when I exchanged words with this executive. You guys are trying to do this coverage, you know, this and that. You're not going to catch the essence of the pregame, the essence of the game, because y'all never played. They're going to make you pay for y'all never played. Okay? Because ultimately, when you add it up, they're now in that seat of superiority. But it was certainly not solely due to what it is that he said right there. Not at all.
Interesting. Well, we're going to go ahead and tune into the pivot and break this interview down as we go through with it. Let's see, let's set it up.
To have that taken away for whatever it is, if I could have been different in some ways, probably, you asked me on the right day, yeah, I would say I have some regrets.
Sacrifice ain't cheap, man.
The thing, it's like, the thing I just told you I loved comes at a price.
Yep.
I love them both. I loved my job.
We know.
I love talking football. And I love my community.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas send me God pinning it. I fought to hear to witness it. Get my people feeling militant. Way up in it, get me up. On the mission, get me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Limitless. Niggas send me God pinning it. I fought the head of witness.
I wanted to stop right there, Doc, because Freddie said something that really needs to be talked about really quickly. He said, sacrifice ain't cheap.
No.
Sacrifice ain't cheap. And, you know, I don't know whether our people really understand why you got to sacrifice certain things, you know, to do what you need to get done. You know, you got to sacrifice going out to the club. You got to sacrifice, you know, hanging and trying to do this. You got to stop and you got to study. You got to do, you know, there's nothing that comes without a cost.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cost, and that sacrifice, you know, sometimes I think, Doc, that a lot of our people don't want to pay that price, but they want to be great, but they don't want to pay that price too.
No, you know, I don't think that they even want to be great. I think that what people want is the biggest reward after the least amount of work. That if there's a shortcut to it, that's the route that they're going to take. You know, I'm reminded so often of some of my students who they come in, it seems like day one. What's the least amount of work I can do to get a passing grade? What's the least amount? I don't care if I don't learn anything. I don't care anything about that. The least amount of work for me to get a passing grade. And I will get that passing grade and I will move on to the next one. And I will figure out how to do the least amount of work to pass. And so the idea of sacrifice, the idea of greatness is one of the reasons why I advocate for people to shadow someone who's doing what it is that they proclaim that they want to do. Okay? Shadow. You know, I've had young men who said, well, yeah, you know, I want to do what you do. I want to be a professor. I want to, you know, this and that, because they see all of the, you know, the lectures, they see all of that type of stuff.
Right.
And one young man, it's probably about 10 years ago, approaches me and said, yeah, you know, I want to do what you want to do. I said, okay, well, check it out. Why don't you follow me for 24 hours for one work day? And after we get done with that work day, you'll have a better understanding of what my life is actually like and what I do. And I explained to him, I said, the day will start at 5 a.m. And he was like, 5 a.m.? I said, yeah, the day will start at 5 a.m. Not waking up. The day will start at 5. I get up naturally at 3:30 in the morning. Okay. I'm in my office by 5 a.m. working, if not 4:30, because I have a pre-day I have to do before I do my work day. My work day is going to start probably about 7. First class is maybe at 9. Okay. That particular day, I had to actually go to Austin to give a lecture around 6:30-ish. So you're talking about a 12-hour day right there. I don't finish over in Austin until 8:30, 9 o'clock. I drive back. I'm getting back at about 11 o'clock. And I stopped and grabbed a bite to eat on the way to Austin. That was the only time I ate that day. And he was like, oh, you know, when we going to have, bro, I don't have a lunch hour. This is what I have to do. Okay. Now you wonder why I'm conversant in the souls of Black folk. It makes me want to holler. The Invisible Man, the color purple, this and that. Because I lock myself down in a way and I read for a couple hours every day. I write for more hours than a couple every single day. My entire day, this is what I do. When Ryan Clark talks about, I love my job. I love talking about football. He's found that thing that he would wake up and he would do for free. I found the thing that I've always woken up and still to this day feel like I'm doing for free sometimes. Sometimes I feel if I get paid, I feel as if I'm stealing from these people because I would do this for free. To find one's purpose, one's calling, and to dedicate your life to being world class at that thing is something that most people are not willing to do. They'll voice those things. They'll talk about, oh well, yeah, you know, I want to this. Well, can you get up and work like a dog always? You know, away from all the glitz and glamour. If you look at a figure, and I'll use someone in hip hop, Eminem. Look at him. M's an insomniac. It's just what it is. He's up around the clock. He's working around the clock. Look at a lot of the people. They have this very weird thing where they disappear, and people think they're asleep or somewhere BS. And no, they're working because they found that thing. So to pursue that is something that very few people have the ability, the desire, or the will to do.
Definitely. All right, let's pick up.
Got my people feeling militant.
Welcome to a special Friday edition of The Pivot. That's Fred T. I'm Chan, Pivot fam. Thank you for pivoting with us. But RC ain't lose all his jobs. We have a special guest today, Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, 4-time Emmy Award winner, and former ESPN employee. We got Ryan Clark coming out.
Somebody had to do it. What up, brother? Somebody had to do it. What up?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, RC, you know how I always ask the guests, what's their biggest pivot, right?
Yeah,
I think this is the biggest pivot.
for sure. I think I'll look at it in 5 years, and if I was sitting down with Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor, that would be the answer. Now, what happens from now is like the rest of the story, but I think the moment would be this moment.
You good? I don't know. I joke about it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a serious situation.
I think, I'm definitely okay, but I feel for the other people who are going through this with me. Carl Ravitch been there 33 years. Charles Davis, one of the best men in the business, along with best analyst. Bart Scott, Cam Newton, Tom Pelissero, and like countless other behind the scenes people. And you think, what I learned about ESPN is so many people who worked there grew up close to ESPN. So they grew up with a dream of being there and being able to work behind the scenes and create these stories and tell this story. And now their job is gone, right? What I'm dealing with is, in truth, a first world problem. But there are some people who are truly counting on what ESPN was going to do for them to feed their family. And, so my thoughts and my prayers are with them as well.
I think the big question is, did you see it coming? Could you take us inside that moment?
Yes and no. I'm upset with myself from this perspective. There were signs, but I truly thought for the first time in my life, I worked so hard at something. I was so good at something. Everybody acknowledged that I was, that they couldn't fire me, that they wouldn't fire me, that a company who's going to have the Super Bowl this year, who truly wants to put their best foot forward to the entire world and have the best people talking about football, wouldn't fire, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and it seems to be the opinion of many others, the best football analyst in the world. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that. And that's my fault. This offseason, our piece on Monday Night Football with Greg Brooks won an award, a diversity award. And our showrunner and our director and our producer were so excited, and it was like, PR is going to post it. And it never happened. And eventually I just posted it myself. And then PR reached out like, oh, I'm so sorry that we missed it, but the Emmys are coming up and we'll post it afterwards. And I just remember sending a text to one of the people I work with, and I said, they're not going to post that. They don't care. A company that posts about, cool things like spelling bees and post about the family feuds and all of these things, didn't care about an actual segment on our show about a young man like Greg, didn't care about that enough because of me to use it.
Was that ever addressed?
No, it was never addressed. Family Feud.
Yeah.
They have an NFL Live Family Feud, a show that I've been a part of, that I won a sports Emmy for being a part of, that's won 2 Emmys in a row because of the core of Laura Rutledge, Marcus Spears, Dan Orlowski, Mina Kimes, and Ryan Clark. You go do Family Feud, and Marcus and I aren't there, but Marcus was asked. And when I reached out to the people who were involved, they just said, one said, we never asked for you. Another said, these 2 people were already on Pat's show, and that's why you and Marcus weren't on. But Marcus was asked, I wasn't. So there were just signs throughout the season, like even now, if you look at everything for the Super Bowl year, I'm not on any of that. A guy that's supposed to be a part of Monday Night Football, a man that's supposed to be a part of NFL Live, a man that's a huge part of First Take, was a part of building Get Up. So to me, the signs were always there. And I called, man.
Yeah.
I want to stop right there, Doc, and talk about, the illusion of merit. Ryan talked about the realization that, all the work that he put in and the multiple Emmys that he's won, being the best at your job still doesn't protect you if your presence and voice challenges the comfort level of the establishment. He thought he was, in other words, could I say, too big to be terminated. What's your thoughts on that, Doc?
Listening to what the brother said, the idea that they won't fire you, it is foolish and foolhardy. Anyone can be replaced. And the truth of the matter is that you may be replaced because somebody don't like you. You may be replaced because someone feels threatened by your presence. Okay. And regardless of if they don't like you, if they don't value, if they don't want you there, they're going to show you in a million ways. Now they'll deny that's what they're doing. But they are going to show you and it could be something that is so doggone petty that it would boggle the mind. I have so many stories that I can give about, being in that professorial ranks and things like that, of people who feel threatened by your presence, people who know that they can't do what it is that you do, but they got a position because they were in many ways just handpicked and selected, that you're going to be, you're our guy. All the way down to, I'll tell you, I had a situation where one of my classmates, okay, my homeboys, he had a run-in with a person who was not even at my university at the time. They were at a different university. They had a run-in, a major disagreement, okay, that was wholly one person's fault. This person winds up coming to my university, got hooked up with a position, and set their sights on getting me, because me and the person that they had a problem with were that we were friends. And it's one of those where they will make your life a living hell in ways that you can't even fathom what they can do. And it's in many ways designed to run you away, to get rid of you. Just imagine being in a situation where everybody around you, people who haven't been on your job as long as you have, get promotions, and you're the only one that don't. Just imagine that. and they have all these great celebrations. Oh yeah, well, so and so, he's now this and he's now this and he's going to be in charge of this and this, and they mandate that you be there so you can listen to it.
Mm.
And that's why I say that they had it in for him. It wasn't what happened on that show. They've been plotting and planning this and ignoring him and making sure his light didn't shine for the longest amount of time. And it ain't just one or two people who did it. Okay. It's a whole culture of people who did it. And you're talking about organizations, despite what people think, organizations have personalities. And when that personality has decided that you will be their whipping boy, there's nothing that you can do. Nothing at all. Ain't nobody you can go talk to, because the person you're talking to is one of them that's in that meeting. So it's you find your own happiness. You do your own thing. And that's what it comes down to. And it's, man, look here. It could be anything. And I literally mean anything that could cause you some trouble. Okay. I got myself in a situation that people would not believe. Okay. Where there's someone who is very high ranking, okay, who was having an affair on his wife.
Mm.
Now you would imagine, how the hell did you get involved with that?
Right.
I got involved with that simply because he's apparently saved his side chick's number under my name. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so I don't wear a watch. You can see I don't have a watch on now. I use my phone to keep time in my class. I set an alarm so that I know what time it is. And my phone's just going off and off and off and off. And I'm talking about going off 40, 50 times in an 80-minute class. To the point where the students were like, yo, you might want to answer that.
Right.
And I'm like, no. And I had actually forgot about it. I wind up going back to my office. I'm finishing up my day. I say, yo, what's all them texts that came? It was him talking about how he wanted her, or where they were having dinner at, the hotel accommodations, how he wanted her to wear the color blue, this and that, right? I text him back and said, yo, doctor, I ain't gonna say his name. This is Jones that you're sending these messages to. Okay. He apologizes. Okay. And then maybe 2 days later, he demands I bring my phone over to him so that he can go through my phone to make sure the messages have been erased.
What?
And when I said no, that's when a lot of my problems started. Okay. Yeah. So you can get, there's nothing that, I hate to say nothing, but I do mean nothing that a person could probably tell me has occurred in an institution or an organization that I would be surprised at. Nothing at all.
Wow. Doctor, why do you think our people consistently fall into the trap of believing that their exceptional output, their excellence, hard work will shield them from the institutional politics of white corporate spaces?
Because they've never been head of an organization. That's why. If you've never been on a hiring committee, you don't understand you don't know what happens in that meeting. You don't know what is discussed. If you've never been on an admissions committee, you don't know. You don't know that there may be 6 spots available, 6 scholarships, what have you. And of the 5 people who are on that committee that's going to either hire or give out a scholarship, they've already promised that to people that they owe favors to. So what you think is 6 spots is actually 1.
Mm.
And if you've never been a part of those situations and those discussions behind closed doors, you don't know. You believe in meritocracy. You believe if I go and I do my best and I get this degree and it's going to be X, Y, and Z, you believe that because you know no better. You're naive.
Mm.
That's not how you advance in this game. I mean, look at who's the Bush girl, Jenna Bush.
Right.
You trying to tell me that she's that talented?
Mm.
That she went from not having any experience in TV that she on prime time in the morning?
Mm.
Come on, man. Come on. What's this special about her? What's so special about her?
Right.
You know, hell, Gail, best friends with Oprah. It took her she was damn near old to get a spot like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't know because they haven't been a part of those conversations. We still operate out of that old mantra of you're going to have to work twice as hard to get half as far. Okay. There's nothing that you can do to close that gap except for, I don't know, finding favor some way, somehow with those who are making those decisions. And it could very well be something as simple as you being at a country club and you happen to befriend someone with some power and they take a liking to you. You said something that was witty and funny. Oh, you know, call me on Monday.
Right.
Call me Monday.
Right.
You know, and blah, 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 blah. And people go, well, how did you get there? Oh, you know, I worked hard. I just worked. No, you got a break. Somebody took a liking to you, or somebody you were connected to had a connection to someone who was in power, and they paved the way for you to get there. You didn't get there on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a fool to begin thinking that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Because truthfully, if you got to go out there and you got to figure out how to get a similar job, you can't do it because you didn't get that job. Not honestly. You didn't work your way up. You know, so you look at this situation right here, and let's be honest about it. The Pat McAfee guy, okay, he went out and he did what Stephen A. Smith now recognizes he should have probably been doing. He went ahead and started his own thing and got millions of followers. Now, why are they following him? Because they like that white, brash, almost Andrew Dice Clay type of persona. Okay. He is what most white guys wish that they could be. Okay. A brash, outspoken, loudmouth type of guy. Okay. But now let's be very clear. Okay. Can you name me the punter on the Arizona Cardinals? This dude was a punter. He wasn't on the field very often.
Wow.
But he was able to develop that following. And now that following and the masses and numbers that turns into consumer dollars. So he's going to get more money out of this deal, I guarantee you. Because remember the last time ESPN cut people, he got that massive deal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There is something, and I will be honest, I get it, I understand it, and I was actually I was at a store yesterday, and I'm going down an aisle, and matter of fact, it was Sam's Club. I'm going down this aisle, and they had these dolls that were for sale. These little like dolls for girls.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a black one, a Hispanic one, and 2 white ones. Okay. My thought was quite simply, see, this is about money. This is about dollars. Okay. And just like black folk, and my mother was a steadfast, just staunch supporter of this, getting black children, black dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic people, Mexicans, they want their children to have dolls that look like them,
Right.
which is perfectly acceptable. So why can't we be fair and be honest and say that white folk want dolls that look like them as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And let's extend it past dolls and let's talk about sports figures and sports personalities. Okay. They want to see and hear some white folk talking. It's just what it is. You know, the my alma mater, we would say this behind closed doors. Ohio State is gonna have a white boy at linebacker, period. Because they want the white fans to have someone white to go out there and root for. Now, it's uncomfortable to say that. Many people would say that it's wrong to say that in public, but it's the truth. It is the truth. Okay. And I don't care. I don't care if he's slow, if he's this, if he's that, but he's going to be out there. And that's what it comes down to. So the idea of representation means a lot. And when you don't appreciate the people who are talking or expressing their opinion, you go ahead and you express that. And when you have millions of people expressing the exact same thing, it's going to get some traction. Look at what they've said about Ryan Clark. You know, well, ESPN has gone woke, so that's why they ain't going woke. You just have a different voice.
Right.
You know, like Ann Richards, former governor of the state of Texas, said, changing the people who are sitting around the table changes the discussion. They don't want that discussion. They want to craft and form and forge reality according to how they want the world to be viewed. And if you ain't careful, they're gonna get to the point where they say slavery didn't happen. That in many ways all that was a work arrangement. And if you say that long enough, you're gonna have black folk believing it. Because who do they learn from primarily? They learn from white folk.
Exactly.
Who don't have their interest at heart. Period.
Wow. All right, let's get back to the video.
Called executives, I called decision makers, I called bosses. Is my schedule changing? What's it look like? And it was never a definitive answer. But I think it was never a definitive answer because this was always the plan.
Yeah. You're not a shy dude. Like you said, I know you ain't just sitting in the shadows with your head down. You're gonna address situations. But if it's not performance based, what's it based off of?
Well, to address the head down thing, what makes me a little bit sad about myself is I did adjust who I was to try to keep my job. I did have meetings with people and say, okay, what is it that you need from me? Not the analyst. The analyst was damn good, right? If you care about the person that's on TV, what is it you need from me? Because I want to do that. I want to build a relationship. I want to involve you in the things I'm doing. You know, man, like this show, for 3 years, bro, we never shied away from any topic.
Right.
We never shied away from tackling anything. We did this year because I knew I couldn't have no beef. I knew I couldn't respond to disrespect, right? I knew, for lack of a better word, I couldn't be too black. What makes me sad is even in trying to adjust to be at least more of what certain people wanted, they still fired me. And so I think that is difficult. I think it's about some of who I am, and it's about certain executives not connecting to that, not supporting that, not wanting to champion that, not wanting to give that the vast platform that is ESPN. And I think they utilized it to make an example of me.
But RC, you called some people to figure out what you can do. Did anybody give you a heads up?
Yeah, I gotten some heads up. I mean, summer ago, Stephen A. sat with me, took me to lunch in Los Angeles. And he told me, he said, there's a particular executive that doesn't like you. Now, let me be honest. I had been hearing this for years, right? It had gotten to me so many times. And so having that dinner or that lunch with Stephen A. was just confirmation of it. He's like, you need to go set a meeting. But so many times when I heard about this particular person, it was, he doesn't like you, or he's said this negatively. So I'd heard it a ton of times. And I got a call this offseason from someone within the building. And, they said the way I stand up for our community is commendable, right? That they respected that in my position, I had a passion for that. But they also said it had created enemies for me at the executive level. It had created opposition, and that there were people within that building that were going to stand on the table for me. And it was such a shock because I thought to myself, in the most important year in ESPN football, you gotta stand on the table for me? Like, for me. Like, there's somebody that needs to be convinced that our NFL coverage is elevated when I'm on TV. Like, there's a person that knows football. There's a person that knows TV that thinks that 13 years in the NFL, Super Bowl, Pro Bowler, a captain, experience from being an undrafted free agent to trying to make the team, to being one of the leaders in the locker room. 12 years of doing this, you got to convince that person that I should be doing TV. And, what I learned was it wasn't about who I was in front of the camera as it pertained to football. It was about what I represented every time I got in front of that camera. And that is something that I don't believe you truly can combat.
When it's all said and done, that's the least anyone can do. I mean, you stand up and stand on, the shoulders of, or for so many people. Like, what you do, bruh, is unbelievable. So for someone to stand up for you, I think that's the minimum anyone can do. But so also, I want to put this to bed, because a lot of people have been having their takes about Stephen A., and you mentioned Stephen A. Is there anything Stephen A. could have done to make this go away?
No. Stephen A., with all of his power, with all of his influence, is not a true decision maker at ESPN. That's not his job title, right? That's not in the repertoire of what he's asked to do. And we get it so many times, right? And I get it all the time. Why do you ride for him so much? Like, why don't you come for him when he says these things? And I've said it on the show. I call him. I text him. I tell him when I think he's doing too much. And I have the conversations with him all the time. But when this company was treating me in a way that, at least in my opinion, was unfair as it pertains to what I'd accomplished, he was the first person to go, I want you. If they're going to take you off of this or that, don't worry about it. You'll get your TV time on my show. Thursday and Friday will be Ryan Clark's days. That will never be forgotten by me. I will be forever grateful for that. That in a space that I was sort of being told, at least being who you are is going to make you lose certain things because you aren't these people that we covet, these people that we're comfortable with, these people that we take pictures with and put our arms around and show the world that we support them. I'll do that for you. And the loyalty he's shown me, the love he's shown me, the true hurt and pain in his voice when he called me around 4:00 Central Time on Monday, I will never forget that. We are forever friends.
You talking about 4 Central on Monday. What happened on Monday? Because you got Bro, you got 5 mid shifts. Who gets fired halfway through that job?
Hey, Chad, crazy, right? Hey,
Where'd the other box go?
hey, Smokey was trying to build club houses. You know what I'm saying? He was stealing boxes.
He was still in boxing.
Hey, my box disappeared. You know,
Your box went away.
Hey, they was
Came
like,
back
damn.
commercial. I said, then where I see go?
Yeah. So let me put this to bed. I wasn't laid off. I was.
So before we let him get too far into that, the psychology of fitting in, and then that buck breaking dynamic. Now, what hit me the hardest in the interview is when RC admitted with a heavy heart that he actually tried to change. He had a meeting with the executives asking what they needed from him, admitting that he consciously tried not to be too black or cause any friction. Yet they still fired him anyway. Later in the room, they even compared the tactics used against him to modern day buck breaking, publicly trying to humble or embarrass an alpha voice to keep him and everyone else in line. So, Doc, looking at the psychological, the spiritual toll of that compromise, what happens to a man when he bends himself into a pretzel trying to satisfy a system that was predetermined to reject him anyway? How do we teach our people to break this cycle of seeking validation from our enemies, from their institutions, especially when they see us as a threat to their power?
Gentleman that was one of my mentors, Garen Tate. Garen Tate said it to me this way, and he was a brother that worked out of the drug and alcohol rehab type of system, and he was first working for an agency, and then he broke away, started his own thing, did very well there. He said this: poor people can't talk shit. As long as you need that check, they're going to have something over you. And they're going to utilize that to basically break you, continually threatening you about everything. Just being honest. And the truth of the matter is, and this is what leads to this is the hard part, that they will get your own people, those who should recognize themselves as your own, to gang up on you, to receive pats on the head themselves. I've seen it often. It's a psychological thing. There is a general woeful lack of even psychological collective thought that goes on during these moments right here. Okay? Until you have your own, until you can write your own ticket, until you can they're going to always be riding on your back. Period. And that's literally what it comes down to. Right now, I know someone who he won't make a decision. And I'm talking about any decision, unless he runs it up to his superiors, who happen to be white folk. This is at a HBCU. He goes to see what they think about it before he will say yay or nay.
Wow.
And if they say nay, he's like, oh, well, no, and because we got these things going on and we got this going on and this and that. You can't help that person. And it's one of those where you have to, and I know that this was the most difficult thing for Brother Clark. When he bent, when he bowed, and he woke up the next morning and he walked past a mirror, I guarantee you, he had a hard time looking himself in the eye.
Mm.
And these are men, because he was making $2 million.
Oh, wow.
That's what his contract was, $2 million.
Mhm.
Now, a man of his age who has been around, because he's made millions,
Right.
he doesn't really need the money. Okay. Oh, I hope he don't really need the money. Okay. You never know. He might have gambling addiction, whatever. But hopefully he doesn't really need the money.
Mhm.
And if you can still break them, that's a psychological thing. The one brother that, regardless of how people feel about him in the world of hip hop, he talked about this, Joe Budden. And Joe Budden's his podcast blew up. All of that was good. And they wanted him to resign.
Mhm.
Whatever channel he was on, they offered them all this money. And Joe Budden said, no, we good. I don't need your money. Because he had designs and plans already to do his own thing. And he says this. He said, they didn't know how to respond.
Mm.
When he said, no, we good. Because within our community, all they have historically had to do was throw some money at us.
Right.
And once they throw that money at you, you're going to do what they tell you to do in one way or another.
Mhm.
And if you don't accept the money that they are offering you, they have their hands and they have control over so many other areas and entities that they can go ahead and smooth shut you down.
Mhm.
And we've seen this repeatedly. And this isn't something that is happening. And this is the brashness of it. This isn't happening behind closed doors. They fired him mid-shift.
Exactly.
I don't know if which is worse. When Craig got fired on his day off, did you get fired during the commercial break? Which one is worse? But the clear message, and I told you early before I even saw any of this what he was talking about. There's somebody or somebodies in that hierarchy who don't like him.
Mhm.
And the worst thing that you want is to get somebody that is nuts to not like you, because they're going to send a message. Don't send nothing dealing with him across my desk no more. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's going to be the final and truly the definitive word. Don't do it. Okay. Now you're an executive trying to do something, trying to move up. Well, you see what they're doing to him. What you think they're going to do to you?
Mhm.
They're going to do something worse to you. And you ain't got millions of dollars in the bank. It's just what it is. This is a cold, cruel world that we live in.
Mm.
That's what it is. And the thing, and I'm glad that he said that about Stephen A. Smith. Just because you were in front of the camera don't mean you got no power. Because they can jettison his butt. Remember when he got in trouble twice. One was about he said something about a woman who something had happened, and one of their white female correspondents got on TV. Oh, I felt after I listened to him like I needed a shower. I was so dirty.
Wow.
And it was something about he would tell the females in his family not to be out trying to cause trouble or set up fights. Some incident had happened. That was one. The next one was when I want to say Major League Baseball All-Star game when Shohei Ohtani stole the show. And he came out and he said, "Not this dude." He was trying his best, from my estimation, to be American, if not white. And he says, "Not this dude. This dude can't be the face of Major League Baseball. He can't even speak English." And within one day, he was back. Within both of those incidents, the next day, he was back in front of the camera apologizing, which is a clear sign of what? That Negro don't hold no power up in there.
Exactly.
And what they said is, do you know how many female dollars or how many Asian dollars you just put in jeopardy? You better go on TV and make it right.
Wow. Interesting. You know, it brings me to memory where you remember Brother Ozzy, right, Doc?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Panther.
Yeah, exactly. He done passed on and
Really?
moved on to the ancestors.
Oh man, I hate to hear that.
Yeah. And this one year, on this one trip to George Washington University, I was speaking there.
Yeah, he was security for you.
Exactly. And you know, I gave my little talk, and before my speech was over, there was majority white folks in the audience. You know, a white woman jumped up, "Would you be my advocate?" and all this, You know, and I told her no, I can't do that. The black woman that I was working with, she was a nurse, and her child got taken. And Aaliyah Holland, that was her name. That was the black lady. I was working with her. And she rolled in these circles with white women. And so since I'm representing her, she's there, I'm there. And, you know, I do what I do, and they enjoyed it. They, you know, wanted me to work with them. And when I had to tell them, I can't, that's not what I'm here for. You know, the God gave me a talent for my own people. Because I knew, Doc, that if I start doing this for these white women and they start paying my fee, then that's going to shortcut my ability to speak like I need to speak on the behalf of our people, because then I'll be in my mind, I can't say this because, you know, these white folks, they my clients, they paying me. So I can't say what I want to say. It will take away my independence. And so I refused them all. And one white woman said, "I'm going to destroy you." I said, "How are you going to destroy me? Because I'm going to spread the word that, you know, nobody needs to work with you." I said, "Let me tell you something right here. This is the thing that you got to understand. I don't get my power, my authority, or anything from y'all. I get my support from my own community. And as long as they're backing me, ain't shit that your words can say that's going to stop me or hurt me. So if you think you can do it, go ahead and do what you got to do. But that ain't going to stop me. That's just not going to work." So at what point, Doc, do you think that these entertainers, these celebrities, these athletes who make millions of dollars, when do they get to that point to say, okay, let's pool our own and do our own ESPN, do our own big time sports thing? Because hell, the majority of the NFL is black anyway. You know, I don't know about basketball and baseball, but I know football is majority black. But they don't think in terms of pooling resources and building their own table. And seems to be the problem that we continually stay at. We're not building our own table.
Well, I think that there needs to be a discussion before that discussion is even possible. And that discussion is, who are we? Because you have some people who are, to be honest with you, they don't have any racial affinity. They don't have any racial loyalty or what have you. There's some Negroes I met. I'm telling you that if they had a noose around their neck and you had a noose around your neck, they still wouldn't see nothing, no commonality between you. That's one issue. We don't even have a definition of who we are. When you talk about black folk, there's some black folk who will probably look around the room and say, "What are they talking about?" Because they truly don't consider themselves to be a part of that. That's one issue. Another issue touches upon what you just said, and it is quite simply, when you get to eating high on the hog, it's hard to come back down lower on the hog. When you used to getting that ham, them pig feet just ain't gonna do it for you. It's just what it is. Because you know something's better. Okay. Now, I say that to say this, that they are beholden to, just as you insinuated, that if you had taken that money and they were paying you, you are beholden to them. And once you get used to that lifestyle, at any moment that you step out of line, they don't even have to say it to you. You know, that next donation check that you were expecting for your school, yeah, keep looking for it. It's in the mail. So it's those, you're no longer independent. And that's a problem. And the fact that individuals who have multi-million dollars, they got that based upon physical prowess, the ability to sell a product. They didn't get that off of business acumen. It's one of the reasons why I tip my hat to Rich Paul, because Rich Paul, along with LeBron, they built an empire. What is Latrell Sprewell doing? What is the average former NFL, NBA player doing? And the truth of the matter is that probably not much of anything. You know, I'm reminded, because, and the thing that makes this so fresh in my mind. You remember Cecil Fielder, baseball player? Okay, he was I want to say Cecil Fielder made it into the Hall of Fame. He was a great player. His son, Prince Fielder, was a great player as well. Cecil Fielder's grandson made news this week because he was a part of a MLB trade. So that may be why he's so prominent at the forefront of my mind right now. However, Prince Fielder told this story about his dad, who made millions of dollars, taking him to a meeting, and it was a meeting about setting up a black, like, TBS station. It was supposed to be like a black, that type of thing. Prince Fielder says, I look down because my father is continually writing something as this meeting is going on. I took a look down at his pad to see what he was writing. He was doodling. He had no idea what was going on in that meeting.
Wow.
But he was the only multimillionaire in that meeting. So what they were discussing is how they were going to use his money. And he said, I told my father, I said, yo, you know, if you just stop right now and do nothing, you good. You're sitting on like 40 million. That 40 million got dwindled. It was in the single digits of millions because he was involved with some business dealings that were not necessarily beneficial to him in the long term. So, you know, the idea of these athletes pooling their money together, I really do, and I'm just trying to be fair and honest about it. I believe that it's fanciful thinking. Because we live in a capitalist nation. That's number one. And number two, you're talking about so much money needing to be raised and to have so much. We need to reverse the brain drain that has happened within our community. We need an individual like maybe a John Hope Bryant who could be in charge of something like that. But you would have to have the willingness of Black America to go ahead and provide the funds. And how long would it take before those who are virulent racist, and that's what Ryan Clark was dealing with, who flat out hate Black folk just because they hate them. Okay. How long before they pull them in and they say quite simply, well, look here, yeah, we're not going to renew your contract. And you look up and you can't find nobody else to give you a contract. You know, so it is what it is.
Wow. All right, let's pick up with the video.
Was fired. Right? They're using layoffs as a cover and a camouflage for what they already intended on doing. But there was no cause for it, right? So because there was no cause for it, you couldn't just fire me. So you had to wait to the layoff so you could camouflage it and veil it, right? But here's the other thing. If I was laid off like everybody else, they came out on Tuesday. Mine came out on Friday. I get the call. I get a text from our showrunner that tells me to call my boss. I call my boss in the break, tells me they're letting me go. He said this is a very awkward call. This is a hard call. I could hear how hard it was for him. And if anybody was going to call me that was anywhere on the executive level, whether low or high, he's the person I wanted to, the way he's fought for me and rode for me. And he said, our friends, jokingly, at Outkick had the story and we're going to leak it. Let me tell you why I know I was fired. Because during the season, after some of the Kyron Lacey news broke, there were people on our network along with me that said something about it. Both of those people apologized, as did I. I didn't want to, right? I was told I couldn't come to work if I didn't. And at that point I said, well, I can't come to work tomorrow because I don't believe I did anything wrong. Some conversations happened and we got to that point. And Outkick wrote an article about all the people that apologized, two very prominent faces at ESPN. And they praised them for who they were and how they brought this thing back around. And they bashed me, talked about how negative I was and spoke about me in such a nasty way. And I sent an email at that time to Burke Magnus and Dave Roberts, who were working, because we were on an email talking about how we were going to handle it. And I was very poignant in saying, you have to watch who you listen to about me. There's certain people who want to paint me as a certain thing, certain people who want to devalue my voice, certain people who, no matter what I do, with all the great I've done, they've never mentioned that. But in this case, there are three people who are very important to this network, who all did the same thing, who all responded in the same way. And only one of us was vilified. And only one of us was a Black man. And so how poignant, how purposeful is it to make sure that that's the exact same publication that gets the story that I'm going to be fired? Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to praise ESPN. They're going to pump ESPN up for getting rid of the person who stands up for the community. And they're going to say that these are all the reasons why I didn't belong on TV in the first place. So let's garner as much positive publicity as we can early before all of these people that you've seen come out on my behalf and say I was the best in the world at the job and I deserved better. One, I didn't deserve to be laid off or fired. It ain't about money. Two, I didn't deserve to be handled that way. So let's get ahead of it. And they were going to get ahead of it by leaking it to someone who they know hated me.
I would say Bro, how could this be that thought out when they just asked you if we could all, as a crew, come on First Take in August? That don't make no sense. When I saw it and how they did it, and how outspoken you are about the community, and how like you're talking, some people don't agree with your stances and don't like that you were that open on their platforms. To me, it seemed like it was almost like buck breaking.
Slave return.
You know, where you're the outspoken one, you're alpha. Let's embarrass him so everybody else gets in line. So nobody else talks crazy to us anymore, or goes through emails or whatever. Like, no, let's teach him a lesson. Let's embarrass him on national TV so that they all line up.
Yeah, I think that could be part of it, you know? Like, I also know that this is a private company. They get to make their decisions based on what they want to make them on what they want to do. What I do know is they didn't take a vote. This wasn't about the majority, right? This wasn't about the people I work with day to day, because my phone don't say that. Production people who ain't worked with me in 5-6 years. Thank you for how you treated me. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for your professionalism. Thank you for showing up constantly. You know, Monday night. Thank you for always. If we didn't have any talent on a meeting, you were always there. You were always on time. You were always building things for the other people on that set. Thank you. And so when the people you work with cry for you, man, that means the world to me. When I get the messages of like the fact that I supported you, the fact that I was there for you means the world to you. Like it gave you the legs to stand up and be who you were on TV. Like that matters. This was a dictatorship. A person or a group of persons, very small group. They didn't poll the majority.
Yeah.
They didn't ask that question. Because you asked that question, now you got to say, even though you told me just how important he was, I don't care. I don't care. I know how important you think he is, and you work with him every day. I don't care how important you think he is. I don't like him. People like me don't like him. They keep calling my phone. I don't want my phone to ring no more. Right? There's other things I'll defend. I'll defend talking about another executive. I'll defend that. I'll defend sabotage. I'll defend getting sued. I'll defend all those things. What I'm not going to defend is you standing up for Angel Reese and everybody being mad about the way he did it. About what you said about, I'm not going to defend that. No. I'm not going to defend you standing on 10 toes for them all the time. It's not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to take those calls. And that was the decision that was made. And I believe that has a large role in why it was made.
Bro, we know.
I want to stop right there and ask you about that, Doc. Do you think that his defense of Angel Reese and going after Robert Griffith and his wife, you think that was a real issue?
No, certainly. Well, certainly, because you're talking about, and I think that it's important that the gentleman number one is talking about, I'm tired of my phone ringing about him. All because of an opinion. I'm tired of hearing his voice contradicting what is, for them, in their lens, through their view, the dominant perspective of the nation. Who is he? Who is he? Who is he to be able to stand up and say anything? And that's in many ways what is being said. It's the silencing of dissent. And that's where we are in this nation. Let's be very clear about this. You're in a nation that is headed by an individual who, for all intents and purposes, are telling people to shut up. I'm going to do what I want to do because it's best for me. It's no different than what we saw with the British when they told the colonists to shut up. That you're operating under a position of what is it called? It slipped my mind. Perpetual representation.
Mm.
That because you're a part of me, whatever I do is going to be benefiting you. And that's not the nation or the world that we live in. But that's what happened. And like I said from the very beginning, all it takes is one person. Because someone in every decision, in every moment, let's be very clear about this. There's somebody who makes that decision. Okay? This is not a, well, this didn't work. No, somebody in this organization decided that we need to get rid of his ass. It wasn't no vote taken. Probably wasn't even no discussion. I've told y'all, I've weighed in on it. I've told y'all where I'm at in regards to this. And that's what it's going to be. He's up out of here.
Mm.
And they made his man call him to tell him, yo, man, they're getting ready. They're getting ready to get rid of you. And you can be quite sure that in this day and age that we live in right now, that the message was sent and it was felt by everybody within that organization. And that message is a very simple one of, yo, you better tighten it up. Because you see what they did to RC, right? Don't be the next RC. You better tighten it up. I'm telling you. Do not be going around these white folk hanging out. Do not be going around them joking and talking. Don't you do it. Because every interaction that you have with one of these executives is opening you up to offending them. And if you offend them, you'll be up out of here. I don't care who you are. And there ain't nothing that I can do to help you. There ain't nothing that anybody can do. Because when they decide, when that person, whoever has the power to decide, decides that you're up out of here, and we're talking about ESPN right here, we could be talking about a law office. We could be talking about a university. We could be talking about a radio station. When they decide that you should be up out of here, you're gone. Period. They ain't gonna talk to you about it. There ain't gonna be no meeting about it. None of that. You're gone. We're gonna inform you when you shouldn't be here no more.
Doc, that reminds me of Roots, where Kunta, I forgot the African woman that came from Africa with him, was kidnapped with him. But when he found her at the farm and at the plantation, and they were in there before she started screaming, and he was like, we can't even be us. They took us from us.
Mm-hmm.
We can't even be us no more.
Mm-hmm.
And we're 2026, and that reality is still going on, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, because it's of course, race is a part of it. But to be honest with you, I think that a bigger part of that is the power dynamic. That those who are in power are able to dictate, and in this nation, it just happens to be race, where they dictate what you can be and what you cannot be. The unfortunate thing about all of this, though, is quite simply that we're at a point now where many of our people, rightfully so, are in the throes and midst of rebelling. Okay. They're rebelling against, pretty much everything that you could imagine. But their rebellion is coming in a form that does not recognize, that does not represent us. And that's unfortunate. They're coming outside in bonnets. They're acting wild and out, and acting like, well, this is the personification of what blackness is. It isn't. But that's the position that they've taken, and it's a position that plays directly into the hands of those who oppress us, because those people are, who are they to dictate to us who we are? And we've allowed that to occur.
Wow. Doc, do you think, and I don't know, this may be a hard question, but do you think that the civil rights leaders saw these situations in the present time, meaning that they can sit back and say, well, 50 years later down the road, you know, this is going to be the situation? Or did you think that they think 50 years down the road, you know, everything be all good and great and we wouldn't be having these same old conversations? What's your thoughts?
I believe that they thought 50 years down the road that we wouldn't be having these conversations, that there would be a linear, um, predictable ascension of Black progress. And the thing that I think there are a couple of things that civil rights leaders fail to realize or recognize or understand. One is the importance of economics and the fact that we didn't have a economic component to, especially the southern part of the civil rights movement. That's one issue. But I think that another issue is they didn't understand what they were doing when they were calling for integration of schools. But in their defense, let's be very clear that the majority of parents, especially when you're dealing with the Brown v. Board of Education and that series of cases that led up to it, those parents were actually agitating for the nation to be true to what it is that they said that they wanted, and that was quite simply separate but equal. Keep the facilities separate, but give us equal facilities. That is the linchpin for why we are. That's the first linchpin for why we are where we are. Another linchpin was the gradual erasure of Black men from the home and the introduction of Black men and Black women as being rivals against each other, as if we're having a battle royale against each other. But civil rights leaders could never have fathomed that a lot of things. One is quite simply, and if you ever watch the movie Lackawanna Blues, there's this great moment at the end where Hill Harper's character says the one thing that we didn't realize when we were integrating was every time a white door opened, meaning a restaurant or business or hotel, every time a white door opened, a Black one closed. So in many ways, we integrated our way out of power, economic power. But a major aspect of that was that you gave away your most precious resource. Okay, Winston Churchill said this: the greatest investment that any nation could ever make is in books and bottles, education and children. And you've given your children to a system that has failed to educate them. You've given your children to a system that doesn't educate them at all about anything. And keep in mind, a part of education is socialization in regards to going ahead and teaching them discipline, duty, honor, and what have you. That's gone for so many people, not for all, but for so many people. Okay. And the consequence of that, the result of that is what we are seeing now. Okay. It's what we're seeing. And you can point to any aspect of Black life for the majority of Black folk, and you'll find it, whatever that it is. And there are multiple it's.
So, Doc, I gotta go back because you dropped something on us that I need you to expound on. Now, you said that they took the school system, whoever, to court, not to integrate the schools, but so that they can stay separate, but just give the Black schools the resources that they were supposed to get.
Yeah.
So if that was the case, that's what they were going to court for, then why did they champion integration, the mixture of the,
See, if you go back and you look at the U.S. Supreme Court justices at the time and what they were looking at,
Mhm.
their initial impetus was keep the schools separate, but you have to have equal facilities. Okay, we have to close that gap. And when you really think about it, black teachers and I as a black educator, black teachers have always been the shit. We've always done much more with less, if not nothing. Okay, one of the things I often joke with people about is when I go to a different university and I lecture, all I carry with me, and it's in my pocket, okay, is my thumb drive, because I have the assurance that when I get to this institution, they're going to have a computer and a projector that works. I take that as a given, and I've never been wrong. Where I teach at, that's not a given. Not at all. So I've had to improvise and learn how to teach without even 20th century technology often. Okay. Equal facilities. Because white folk don't want their kids going to school with black folk. Okay. And Lord knows white parents do not want their white daughters to be sitting in a classroom where there's a black man who is their teacher. They don't want them to have any type of power over their girls. And it's a whole different discussion we can have one day about sex between teachers and students emanating out of the European educational system. Okay. It's just what it is. That's what they've done. However, what ends up happening is Kenneth and Mamie Clark, two black psychologists, they did this very simple and interesting, and I know you know about it, and I'm sure our listeners know about this, the black doll, white doll test. Okay. That test of just putting a black doll and a white doll in front of a black child and asking the child to describe them. The black child said that the black doll was ugly, was stupid, dumb, and the white child was an angel from God.
Right.
It's that research at the very end of the case that led the U.S. Supreme Court justices to say, my God, school segregation is doing, and if you read their decision, school segregation is doing irreparable harm to the minds and psyches of black children. And it must end. Now, on the surface, that appears, and you'll hear black folk who'll say this. They'll say, well, then you tell me how. You sitting in the same classroom with the white kids, and you can't learn just like they learn. They don't understand that it is possible to have children in the same room and not teach them. A veteran teacher can tell you that there are ways that you can freeze students out. Don't call on them. Don't help them. Okay? Don't acknowledge them. Okay? I had that done to me in the sixth grade at Johnny Appleseed Middle School. Miss Gardner. Okay? Old white woman. Okay? Who I know she dead by now. Okay? She looked like she was about 200 then. Okay? I went to a black elementary school. We did not deconstruct sentences. So when I got to the middle school, and I'm one of only 4 or 5 black students that were put in the accelerated or college prep track, those kids, those white kids, because I'm the only black kid in the class, they'd already done that and they knew how to do it. Me wanting to valuing education and wanting to keep up, I approached this white woman and I offered, can I come after school? After school, which meant I had to walk home, which would have been probably a 45-minute walk, and learn this. She said, "You're too far behind. You'll never catch up," and walked out the room.
What?
Okay.
Wow.
All right. To this day,
Mm.
I cannot break down a sentence for you. I can't tell you the noun, the pronoun, the adverb, the adjective, the preposition. I can't do that. The way I'm able to write the way that I write, I've read so much that I can tell if something is wrong in a sentence. But to give you the technical reason why it's wrong, I can't do that. I don't possess that ability. Never learned how to do it. And it's just what it is. So that decision to honor and to interpret what Kenneth and Mamie Clark had done by the U.S. Supreme Court, that's what unraveled Black education. Because at the time, at 54, the mid 50s, you got a 50-50 split between Black male and Black female teachers. Once that decision comes down, if you had a kindly advisor, he would tell you, go get another major if you were majoring in education, because you will not be able to get a job because all the schools are going to be integrated. Not only are kids going to go from pillar to post, but principals and also teachers. The teaching ranks are going to be integrated as well. And just think about what is lost when you replace a Black teacher with a white teacher, a Black teacher who cares with a white teacher. And also, we fail to consider that there are so many other things that are going to be lost. You know, we had I can never remember the name of the book, but it was a diary of two Black school teachers who were two Black school principals. No, they were teachers. And they were the two that was sent to this white school to integrate the school. Okay. They spent the last 15 years of their teaching career not teaching anyone. They sat in an empty classroom.
What?
That's what you're talking about when you talk about white power, when you talk about the idea of why Black folk can't get it together, because you don't know the process, you hate yourself, you're scatterbrained, you're always anxious. You can't get comfortable even in your own skin because you know, and every Black person in this world, look at Ryan Clark, he knows this. At any moment that a white person with some power, even a Black person who might be white-minded with some power, decides that it's time for your Black ass to go, you up out of there. Your status as a Black person, I don't care your educational level, I don't care about the amount of money you got. Your status, if you are an employee, is always tenuous. And even if you're an owner, if you run a restaurant supply company, offend them white folk and see if they stop ordering from you. Even your business is tenuous. Because Black America has never developed the ability to have its own independent economy that can withstand the withdrawal of white support, period.
But Doc, how is that when they continually say, unless they're lying, that,
Who is they?
you know, I guess government, whoever come up with these statistics about the spending power of Black America, they say it's bigger than some countries.
It's probably true.
But then how, if our spending is greater than some countries, the money that we're spending.
Where are you getting that money from? Where's that money coming from?
From the work that we do.
For who?
White folks, I would assume.
So when you get, so white folk then paid you, and when you get paid, where do those dollars go?
Go out to different people who have
No. I ain't gonna let you become racially ambiguous at that point. Who do those dollars go to?
Yeah, go back to white folks, Asian folks.
Okay, so there have been people who have tried this. I remember a couple years back, It was a black family who tried this. They tried to buy nothing but black from black people. And they said it was one of the most difficult things that they ever tried in their life, because there are so many gaps in where you can purchase black goods and what have you, which is, on one hand, if you're looking at it from a proper perspective, that should be a wonderful opportunity for some black entrepreneurs. However, how do you get to the point where you can fulfill that need? Our way of doing that has always been having to go to white institutions to beg them for a loan. Other groups are able to stack up in a home 4, 5, 6, 7 generations. They paying about $1,400 for this home. Okay, it's about 30 of them in there, and they're pooling their money until somebody can move out, start a business, move out, get another home, and they repeat the exact same process. Okay. The black business person is at a decided disadvantage almost always, and this isn't all of them, but many of them. They're at a decided disadvantage based upon finances, based upon education as far as know-how of how to run a business, and based upon the idea of consumer confidence. Okay. If me and you went to McDonald's and we had a bad experience at the McDonald's on Main, and maybe a month later we decide we're gonna go to McDonald's again, what are you gonna say to me? Yo, we ain't going to that one on Main. Take me to the one over there on Second.
Right.
Okay. If we had and I'm talking about not just us, but if black folk in general had a negative experience with a black business, not a chain, a standalone black business, okay, we would leave there saying, see, that's why I don't fuck with black people. And we immediately write off all black businesses. That's the psychological component of it. And the idea of, let's be honest, when people hate themselves, they try to adorn themselves with European designer labels that somebody had told them, yeah, if you got this, if you got that Michael Kors, girl, woo, look at that right there. So you're trying to get all these trinkets and things like this so that you can show them off to other black folk, which is a sign that you don't like them. And you trying to develop envy within them. Look at me, bitch. Yeah. Yes, bitch. Yes. Right? Where's that coming from? I was watching a recent thing with Taraji P. Henson and Keke Palmer. And I sat there and I listened to Taraji say, yeah, if you was looking for me, I'm in the trap house. That's where you could find me. Even if that is true, that is not something you should be bantering and joking about in public when you have people who listen to you. But there is no decorum. There is no restraint. There are, and I'll say this, and you'll know what I mean. There is no male leadership because you don't see women from other races who are accepted within their community and celebrated within their community doing similar things. And that's not bashing black women at all. That's highlighting the prominence of a certain population of black women who are, for lack of a better way of looking at it, they are the squeaky wheel.
Wow. Well, Doc, you funny. You got that part down. Look.
Yeah, I mean that's what they are. Yes, bitch. Yes. And you sit there and you just shake your head at them, And then like, oh man, you ain't, I was watching this Pop the Balloon, this little segment that I want to say MTR had it on there. And this sister, she's talking about why she popped her balloon. Which is why you gonna pop your balloon, what have you. She says, I popped my balloon because you look a little too studious for me. Talking about the guy, because see, we go on vacation, I'm gonna want to turn up. And you look like you're gonna want to be somewhere enjoying the scenery, reading a book. That's where we are. I mean, come on, let's just call a spade, and let's admit that that's where we are right now. Now, how we got here, we can debate that, but we can't debate that we're standing in on the edge of hell in purgatory,
Right.
and leaning the wrong direction. But that's what that is what culturally has turned out to be what some segment of Black America considers to be valid, a representation of who we are, and what's going to really eat them up eventually. Because when you talk about this idea of Black fatigue, of course, that's like a double entendre.
Right.
There's a group of Black folk who are tired of Black folk, and I've always questioned: are we a community? Are we a community? And I keep coming up with, I don't believe so. I don't believe that we're a community anymore. I believe that we are several different pockets and camps of individuals, and we're going to get to a point where those who are more successful are truly going to shun those who have nothing. And that's going to be a terrible moment for those who have nothing. Terrible.
Wow. Exactly. Okay, we're going to go back to the video.
Know how much you love what you do and how hard you work and how passionate you are. And we've seen numerous occasions where we've had opportunities on this show to make X amount of money, and you help us understand that it's not about the money. It's about the quality of the work that we have to put out and the lives it's going to touch. So we agree with you. It's not about the money. It's never been about that. It's about your job and simply what you love to do. But when you text me, like all the other people you spoke about, I said, man, this man lying. April Fool's, it ain't even April. I didn't believe him, but I didn't want to respond that way because it caught me off guard. And I was like, ain't no fucking way these people are that stupid to do one of their best, put people like that. And I ain't saying that because we rock, but I just know what it is. But even then, I started searching the internet and trying to figure out, like many people might be, like, what happened? Like, what's going on? Like, is this a Netflix doc situation? Like, what's really going on? Yeah. And we've been hearing reports about, the disagreement with Peter, right? Yeah. They're trying to pit you and Pat against each other. Mm-hmm. And so many other things people are trying to stir up and figure out what's going on. Like Chan said, like they're looking or waiting for a scandal, right? Yeah. But it's simpler than that.
Oh yeah, it's no scandal. Let me be very clear. I love Pat McAfee. I think what Pat McAfee set out to do really put in place a blueprint for a lot of us. Like, can we do it and be accepted or received at that level, at that amount of money? Probably not. He's an anomaly in that way. But I respect and admire what he's built so much. Right. Peter Schrager, like me and Peter don't have an issue, right? I would think if you'd ask him right now, obviously after what went on with us, there's been nobody that's nicer to him. And I do want to address that as well. Going into last season, that was when I met with the executive and say, hey, look, I can only see one reason why you'll have a problem with me, because it's not my work. Mm. And I get my schedule. I'm supposed to work Thursday, Friday on Get Up and First Take. I fly in on Wednesday night. That's what my schedule says. So I fly in on Wednesday night. I never get an email. I never get a text message. Normally you get that about the production meeting. I don't get that. So I wake up in the morning and I was like, well, you know, I'm not working. I'm texting, hey, am I off of it? And I cut the TV on and Taylor and Will are on, which, like, I'm happy for them. Them boys worked hard to get that opportunity, right? Go do your thing. But I was upset because, wait, you can't call me and tell me that the schedule's changed? I don't deserve the respect of believing that this is my schedule? And along with some other people, we built Get Up. That junk was dying. Your original idea didn't work. So it was Dan and it was Marcus and it was Culture Wednesday with me and Dominique. That's why that show lasted to be what it is that you turned it into now. And the people who I built that with, y'all just couldn't call me and just tell me, RC, we made another decision. And I asked, man, and another thing I'm mad at myself, I begged and begged to be back on that show because it meant so much to me that we built it and to be on it. And they just kept telling me, people aren't doing both shows. Dan's doing both shows all the time.
Yeah.
Damian Woody's doing both shows all the time. Peter Schrager's doing both shows all the time. And so I'm already feeling something. And you go into that Friday and Greeny had said and Peter had exchanged a couple of times that neither one of them ever played. And we're talking about CeeDee Lamb. And I tried to be very thoughtful in the way I approached it because I wasn't trying to say you don't have an opinion because you didn't play. I was trying to say you have a different opinion because you didn't play. And maybe I didn't get that across in the right way, right? I can accept that. But then he raises his voice at me. He's like, don't belittle me and this and this. And in the moment, I'm like, I'm on TV. I'm not gonna have that back and forth. Let me be calm, let me de-escalate this, and let me truly explain what I mean, that the in-helmet perspective is different than the out-of-helmet perspective. And so we get in the break, man, and I walk off, right? Because I'm upset, because I'm knowing what's gonna happen because he said I belittled him and he raised his voice at me. And he's like celebrating the segment, like it's a great segment. But I'm already knowing the person who loves you don't love me, and they make decisions here, and we just had that happen. And while he's celebrating, I'm just telling him, like, man, like, don't effing disrespect me like that. Because I'm knowing what's going to happen. Now, at this point, I'm standing over here, right? I've gotten out of my chair, which is 2 away from him. I'm standing over there. And obviously, they recorded and they showed me the video. And I'm talking to people who've been there for 12 years, man. And they like, we thought you were going to get aggressive. What? The person you've been knowing all this time who never did anything, who's never had an altercation here, was going to get aggressive from over there? So now you're trying to paint this angry black man trope of me that you know is not true, but I'm starting to feel the narrative. I feel what you're doing. You get me on the phone and people are telling me you gotta work better with people. Work better with who? Everybody I work with loves me. Like, real talk. Everybody I work with, they F with me the long way. Like, I ain't the best teammate. Hell, Jason Kelsey called me just to tell me that. Wow. And so I was just seeing the narrative that was being pushed and seeing the way it was going. And then even that, much like what happened with Outkick with my firing, they leaked that video. And when they showing me this video, it's the video from the control room. So if that's gonna get released, that's somebody that works for us.
Yeah.
Right, you've been here 12 years. You have this incident. I want people to know that about you. I'm getting calls. We got the video. The video's been leaked. We're gonna show this. And honestly, I was trying to keep my job at the time. I should have told him, show it. Show him that he celebrated. Show him that I walked away. Show him that I was a 46-year-old man that said the F word from 15 feet away from somebody. But me and Peter talked.
Yeah.
Me and Peter fixed that. Me and Peter had the conversation. Me and Peter moved on from it, right? And what I wanted to do from him, from that point on, because I heard what he said, I never wanted to make him feel that way, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So anything he wanted to do on TV, any point he made, any conversation he wanted to have, I was gonna have it with him. I was gonna support him.
Doc, if Ryan called you up about what he just spoke about and asked you how should he navigate, what would you have told him?
It doesn't matter what you do from this point forward. The die has been cast. They were waiting for anything, and I mean anything. You know, I have a friend who was provost, second in command at his university, and he just got this position. You know, the position is paying him well into the six figures. Loves the position. He's worked his whole life to get here. Worked the position for maybe about 2 weeks, and he gets a call from the only person who is his superior, the president of the university, and says, "Listen, we have an issue that we need to get together and we need to discuss it. Hopefully we can go ahead and we can work this out." He has no idea what the issue is. Goes to the meeting, and he says, "I walk into the meeting and I'm like, oh, okay, well, the secretaries are here. His secretaries. He had two secretaries. Secretaries are here, so they must be here to go ahead and record what's said at this meeting for my sake, for the university's sake, and what have you." No, it turns out the secretaries were the ones that issued the complaint against him. Okay. And what they said was that he was aggressive, he was threatening, he was he was all of these things. And now he's pissed because he wants to know, what is it that y'all are talking about? Okay. And he says, they're like, well, we just don't feel comfortable around you, this. And he says, no. What is it that I'm doing? He said one of them women lowered her head and said, "He's doing it now." He got suspended for 6 weeks from his job. He had been on for what, 2 weeks? Okay. And ultimately ended up resigning because they hit him with, "You're the angry black man. You're doing it right now," because he wants them to expound upon what is it that he's doing that's intimidating them. And the fact is because he was black, a male, and large. So he has to be the angry black man. I get the exact same shit. Just because I'm not that social. I'm no social butterfly. I'm a man. Okay. My words are going to be direct. They're going to be short to you. Okay. But even being that way, they got a problem with it. You inherit a daunting history of racial bias and hatred towards black folk just by virtue that you're a black man. And that's just what it is. So if he called me and he asked me, there ain't nothing you can do. You might as well just go ahead and act a complete monkey now. Because you don't even know. And, I had no evidence to support this, but it ain't out the realm of possibility that the individual that he keeps talking about that didn't like him, you don't know if he put the other guy up to having causing some type of conflict.
Right.
And that could be why he was celebrating so much. Because I positioned him right where you told me you wanted him. So now come on and get him. Come on and get him. And it's just that's the black tax that you'll hear people talking about. That there's a black tax. Yeah, there is a black tax. You're a fool if you don't recognize it or accept that there is a black tax. And to go along with that, let's be very clear. the tax is different for women than it is for black men. And I'm talking about not just black women, I'm talking about all women. Because there are differences between the two.
Wow. Mm. You know, I agree with you said with the old white boy Peter celebrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the setup. Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, let's come on. He's beloved within ESPN by this one executive.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And it definitely ain't because he knows anything more about football than a man who strapped it on, laced
Exactly.
him up.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't any well, we can't get rid of him because he played. That ain't no consideration.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like him. And we can sit here and we can weave this as being a racial issue. It ain't even got to be a racial issue. He don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And there's nothing that you can do about it. There's nothing anybody else can do about it. I don't like his black ass. And it could be something as simple because now let's not forget Donald Sterling used to own the Clippers. Donald Sterling would get upset when his girlfriend would have the black athletes around her.
Mm-hmm.
It could be anything. Ain't got to be nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, and he said it himself when he was talking about Stephen A. Smith, there ain't nothing that nobody that's black with any power could do to save him.
Mm.
So go ahead and do what you're gonna do, because they want you up out of there. Period.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When he made the difference and kept saying, "No, let's get it right," I was fired.
Yeah.
What's the difference between being fired and laid off? Yeah.
I wasn't laid off. I was fired.
What's the difference
Between what?
being fired and laid off?
Oh, laid off, they might call you back later.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're going through a slight reorganization, and there's still some hope. We could get you back here later, versus fired. No, you were fired. Okay.
Mm.
This wasn't no economic downturn or anything like this. You were fired for whatever reason, and there could be a billion reasons. I'm just fair about that.
Right.
Okay. But they wanted him up. Somebody in that organization wanted his black self up out of there. And they were following, I guarantee you, number one, he didn't like him. Number two, he went and found some data or whatever to justify the move that the white folk who hate black folks speaking about anything politically, well, he's our least popular of our people that we have on here. And we're going to have to cut 9-10 people anyway, because we're going through this merger. And that's the perfect moment, perfect excuse to get rid of him. They just didn't really factor in him having a platform enough to be able to draw attention to it. And even in drawing attention to it, it's not going to save him, obviously.
Right. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So a job that he really loved to get up and go to, it's gone. There ain't no getting around it. But keep in mind, it was a job. He was an employee. And as long as you're an employee, as long as you got to rely upon people outside of you, you're at risk. And it's the reason why at this point of Black America, especially when we're talking about our collegians and what have you, we need to, in one way or another, be directing them towards being entrepreneurs, towards building this Black economy, instead of putting it off generation after generation after generation, because you want some safety, a safety net.
Mm. Wow. Definitely. Definitely. Well, we're at our time. It's time for us to go ahead and move to closing comments. Doc, your closing comments?
Just happy to be here. This is one of the few things, this in lecturing, writing, this is one of the few things that I do that I truly enjoy, and I'm not locked away in solitary confinement, to be honest with you. I enjoy my time here. I look forward to my time here. And wish everybody a good week. God bless you.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Doc. Family, as we wrap up this discussion today, I want us to really sit with what we've uncovered. When you look at Ryan Clark's situation on the pivot, it serves as a stark reminder of our reality. Our people have faced for generations, no matter how hard you work, no matter how many awards you win, no matter how undeniable your excellence is, the corporate machine will always demand a compromise of your soul and your loyalty to our community. When you step out of the bounds of defending our people, when you refuse to bend the knee to the institutional comfort, they don't just push you aside, they coordinate the hit job, leak the narrative, and then try to make an example out of you to keep everyone else aligned. As his mother warned him, and as history has taught us, and Doc even said it, you can work twice as hard, be twice as good, and still not be chosen by a system that was never built for our liberation. But that has to be precisely why our end goal must always point to what we're building for ourselves. We cannot keep pouring our talent, our intellect, and our capital into tables that view our power as a threat. It is time to build our own fertile ground, establish our own systems, and do for self by any means necessary. We want to thank you all for locking in with Doc and myself today. Keep your eyes open. Keep your mind sharp. Let's organize and secure our justice and fair treatment for our people. No matter where we are, we understand the mission and what needs to be done. Let us all make sure that we get down to the work of killing the nigger on the inside of self, so that the God that's on the inside can rise above and take us beyond the current conditions of our people. We thank all of y'all for listening, for watching. I want to thank Brother Willie Rivers for showing up, Tranquil for showing up, Emerald Jules, Brother Roy, and 504. Thank you all for showing up and participating. We love y'all. We ask y'all always to like, share, and subscribe. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Peace.
Peace. So you better get the message and get it straight. You're gonna need some bridge work. It's simple as that. Because we're living in judgment. We're living in implementation.